2 weeks after the battle with the Kethmori, Ambassador Lisa Grant stood in the Great Hall of the Parathi flagship. The room was enormous, with walls that flowed like liquid fire and a ceiling that looked like the inside of a star. Princess Zarathul had called together representatives from both species to witness something that had never happened before in the galaxy. "Today," the princess announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall, "we forged the first alliance between the Parathi Empire and the human race." Lisa looked around the room and marveled at how much had changed. Human and Parathi officers stood side by side, working together like they had been friends for years. The two species were learning from each other in ways that neither had expected. Captain Jake Morrison stood next to General Thulkara, a massive Parathi warrior who had become his closest friend during the joint military exercises. They were comparing tactical strategies, with Jake showing the Parathi the value of careful planning, and the general teaching Jake how to inspire troops with passionate leadership. Dr. Kevin Walsh was in deep conversation with scholar Velthani, a Parathi scientist. They had discovered that human analytical thinking combined perfectly with Parathi intuitive knowledge. Together, they had already made breakthroughs in engine design that neither species could have achieved alone. Lieutenant Amy Brooks had become something of a celebrity among the Parathi. She was the first human to truly master the flame dance, and young Parathi came from across the fleet just to watch her perform. But more than that, she had become a bridge between the two cultures, helping humans understand Parathi emotions and helping Parathi understand human subtlety. "Ambassador Grant," Princess Zarathul said, calling Lisa forward, "you have learned much during your time with us. Tell our people what you have discovered." Lisa walked to the center of the hall, feeling the eyes of both species upon her. Few weeks ago, this would have terrified her. Now she felt the fire inside her own heart, the passion that Princess Zarathul had helped her find. "I have learned that strength comes in many forms," Lisa said, her voice clear and strong. "The Parathi show their strength through open fire and honest emotion. Humans show their strength through determination and protective loyalty. Both are equally powerful." She turned to face the Parathi side of the hall. "Your people taught us that hiding our feelings makes us weaker, not stronger. You showed us that true respect comes from sharing who we really are, not from careful politeness." Then she faced the human representatives. "And we showed the Parathi that fire doesn't always have to burn bright to be strong. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from controlled passion, from the willingness to sacrifice for others without expecting anything in return." Princess Zarathul nodded approvingly. "The ambassador speaks truth, but words alone do not make an alliance. Actions do." She gestured to the large display screen that dominated one wall of the hall. It showed a map of the galaxy, with human and Parathi territories marked in different colors. But now, for the first time, the map showed something new. Joint patrol, routes where human and Parathi ships would work together to protect both empires from threats like the Kethmori. "Our combined fleets will be stronger than either of us alone," the princess continued. "Human tactical skill and Parathi raw power make a combination that our enemies will fear." General Thulkara stepped forward. "The humans have already proven their worth in battle. They fought like true warriors when they defended our civilians. Any who question their courage will answer to me personally." Jake smiled at his friend's fierce loyalty. "And the Parathi have shown us that sometimes the best strategy is to fight with your heart as well as your head. Our soldiers are learning to be passionate about victory, not just efficient." Scholar Velthani raised her hand. "But this alliance is about more than just military cooperation. Our combined research teams have made discoveries that will benefit both species for generations to come." She activated another display that showed new ship designs. The vessels were beautiful, combining human engineering precision with Parathi thermal technology. They looked like they had been born from fire and stars. "These ships will be faster, stronger, and more efficient than anything either of us could build alone," Dr. Walsh explained. "Human computer systems controlling Parathi plasma drives, human navigation systems guiding Parathi thermal shields." Amy stepped forward, still wearing the modified environmental suit that allowed her to survive in Parathi environments. But the most important thing we've learned is that different doesn't mean wrong. We don't have to be the same to be friends. The hall erupted in cheers from both species. Humans clapped their hands while Parathi created fountains of celebratory fire that danced in complex patterns across the ceiling. Princess Zarathul raised her hand for silence. When the hall was quiet, she walked over to Lisa and held out a small crystal that glowed with internal fire. "Ambassador Grant," she said, "formally, I present you with the Heart of Fire, the highest honor my people can give to a non-Parathi. You have proven yourself worthy of our respect and our friendship." Lisa took the crystal with both hands, feeling its warmth spread through her fingers. "I accept this honor not just for myself, but for all humanity. We promise to be worthy allies. And I," the princess continued, "pledge that the Parathi Empire will stand with humanity against any threat. Your enemies are our enemies. Your friends are our friends. Your victories are our victories." She turned to address the entire hall. "Let this day be remembered as the beginning of a new age. No longer will either of our species stand alone in the galaxy. Together, we will explore new worlds, defend the innocent, and show the universe that cooperation is stronger than conquest." The ceremony concluded with a joint performance that no one who witnessed it would ever forget. Human musicians played alongside Parathi fire dancers, creating a symphony of sound and light that represented the perfect harmony between two very different species. As the celebration continued into the night, Lisa found herself standing on an observation deck with Princess Zarathul, looking out at the stars. Both human and Parathi ships could be seen in the distance, flying together in perfect formation. "Do you think it will work?" Lisa asked. "Can our peoples really stay allied when we're so different?" Princess Zarathul smiled, and her inner fire glowed warm and steady. "Ambassador Grant, difference is not weakness. It is strength. Your people bring careful thinking and loyal hearts. My people bring passionate strength and honest emotions. Together, we can accomplish things that neither of us could do alone." She pointed to the ships flying in formation. "Look at them. Human precision guiding Parathi power. It is a beautiful thing." Lisa nodded, feeling the Heart of Fire crystal warm in her pocket. "Yes, it is." In his final log entry, Captain Jake Morrison wrote, "Today we learned that the greatest diplomatic tool isn't protocol or procedure. It's the courage to let others see who we really are beneath the surface. The Parathi taught us to embrace our own fire, and in return, we showed them that strength comes in many forms. Together, we're stronger than either of us could ever be, alone." As the combined fleet set course for new adventures among the stars, both species looked forward to a future filled with friendship, discovery, and the knowledge that they would never have to face the unknown alone again. Princess Zarathul had been teaching the humans about Parathi culture for 3 days when the alarm started screaming. The sound was different from human alarms, more like the roar of an angry fire, but Lisa knew immediately that something was very wrong. "Battle stations," the princess commanded, and her inner fire blazed brighter than Lisa had ever seen it. "The Kethmori have found us." "Who are the Kethmori?" Jake asked, but he was already moving toward his weapon. "Pirates and killers, Princess," Zarathul said as she ran toward the bridge. "They attack anyone they think is weak. They must have seen your small ship and thought we would be easy prey." The bridge of the Parathi ship was an amazing sight. Flames danced across control panels and the crew communicated through rapid bursts of colored fire. Princess Zarathul took her place at the center of it all, and Lisa could see why she was a leader. Her fire burned steady and strong, giving confidence to everyone around her. "How many ships?" the princess demanded. 7 Kethmori raiders," came the reply. "They are demanding we surrender our cargo and our prisoners." "Prisoners?" Jake said, angrily. "They think we're your prisoners?" "It does not matter what they think," Princess Zarathul said. "What matters is that they chose to attack." "Captain Morrison, can your ship fight?" Jake looked at the tactical display. The Kethmori ships were ugly things, covered in weapons and armor plating. They looked like they had been built for one purpose only: destroying other ships. "We can fight," Jake said, "but not against 7 ships that size." "Then we fight together," the princess declared. "Show me what human warriors can do." Jake activated his communicator and called his ship. "Amy, are you there?" Lieutenant Brooks's voice came through clearly. "Yes, sir. We're ready for anything." "Get us back to the stellar wind as fast as you can," Jake ordered, "and prepare for combat." The shuttle flight back to their ship was terrifying. Kethmori fighters were already attacking, and Lisa could see explosions lighting up the darkness of space. The Pirathi were fighting back with weapons that shot streams of superheated plasma, turning enemy ships into glowing metal. When they reached the stellar wind, Jake immediately took command. Dr. Walsh ran to his science station, and Lisa strapped herself into a safe seat. She had never been in a space battle before, and she was scared. "Amy, what's our status?" Jake called out. "All weapons ready, Captain," Amy replied. "Shields at maximum power." "Good. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves now. We're fighting to protect our new allies." The first Kethmori ship that attacked them was twice the size of the stellar wind, but Jake had been in battles before. He used the ship's smaller size and better speed to avoid the enemy's heaviest weapons while hitting them with precise shots. "Target their engines," Jake ordered. "If we can stop them from moving, the Pirathi can finish them." Lisa watched in amazement as Jake commanded his ship. He was completely different from the careful, polite captain she had known. In battle, he moved with deadly grace, making split-second decisions that kept them alive. But it was what happened next that really surprised Princess Zarathul. 2 Kethmori fighters broke through the Pirathi defensive line and headed straight for a group of civilian Pirathi ships. These were not warships, just cargo vessels with families aboard. They had no weapons and no way to defend themselves. "Captain," Amy called out, "those fighters are going after civilians." Jake didn't hesitate for even a second. "All power to engines. We're going to intercept them." "Sir, we'll be completely exposed," Amy warned. "The other Kethmori will be able to hit us from behind." "I don't care," Jake said, and his voice was filled with the same kind of fire that Princess Zarathul had when she was angry. "We don't let innocent people die. Not ever." The stellar wind raced across the battlefield, putting itself between the Kethmori fighters and the civilian ships. Jake's crew fought like their lives depended on it, because they did. But more than that, they fought like the lives of others depended on it. Amy worked her communication station like a master musician, coordinating with the Pirathi forces and calling out enemy positions. Dr. Walsh used his scientific knowledge to predict enemy movements and find weak spots in their armor. When one of the Kethmori fighters damaged the stellar wind's shields and came in for a killing shot, Amy did something incredibly brave. She left her station and ran to the damaged shield generator, fixing it by hand while energy blasts flew around her. "Amy, get back to your station," Jake yelled. "Almost got it, Captain," she called back, even though Lisa could see she was scared. "Just need another minute." A Kethmori blast hit very close to where Amy was working and she was thrown against the wall. But she got back up and finished the repair. The shields came back online just in time to stop the next attack. On the Pirathi ship, Princess Zarathul watched all of this happening. She saw Jake risk his ship to save Pirathi civilians. She saw Amy risk her life to keep fighting. She saw Dr. Walsh use his mind as a weapon against the enemy. "Impossible," she whispered to her crew. "The humans fight like they have fire in their hearts." The battle turned when Jake made a desperate decision. He flew the stellar wind directly at the largest Kethmori ship, the one that was leading the attack. Everyone thought he was going to ram it, which would have destroyed both ships. But at the last second, Jake spun his ship around and fired all weapons at point-blank range. The surprise attack destroyed the enemy ship's bridge and left it helpless. "Now," Jake called to the Pirathi forces, "finish them." The Pirathi ships, inspired by the humans' courage, attacked with new strength. Within minutes, the remaining Kethmori ships were either destroyed or running away. After the battle, Princess Zarathul came aboard the stellar wind. Her inner fire was burning brighter than ever, but now it seemed warm instead of threatening. "Captain Morrison," she said, I have seen something today that I thought was impossible. What's that, Princess? Jake asked. I have seen the fire that burns within your species, she replied. It does not blaze openly like ours, but when it emerges, it burns with the strength to move stars. You risked everything to save people you barely knew. Lieutenant Brooks nearly died to protect her friends. Dr. Walsh used his mind like a weapon to defend the innocent. She looked around at the human crew with new respect. I thought your people were cold and lifeless. I was wrong. Your fire burns, differently than ours, but it burns just as bright. Lisa felt tears in her eyes. Princess, does this mean? It means, Princess Zarathul said with a smile, that the real alliance begins now. The shuttle ride to Princess Zarathul's ship was the most uncomfortable trip Lisa had ever taken. The princess had given them special suits that were supposed to protect them from the heat, but Lisa still felt like she was sitting inside an oven. Jake and Dr. Walsh were with her, both looking worried but determined. These suits will keep you alive, the princess had said, but they cannot make you comfortable. Comfort is for the weak. As they approached the Pirathi ship, Lisa could see why they needed the suits. The entire hull of the ship glowed with heat, and she could see what looked like liquid fire flowing along channels in the metal. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. How do they even build ships like that? Jake whispered. They must have completely different technology than us, Kevin replied. Their entire civilization is based on heat and fire. The docking bay they entered was unlike anything Lisa had ever seen. The walls glowed red and orange, and the air shimmered with waves of heat. Pirathi crew members moved around the bay, and Lisa was amazed to see that they all looked like Princess Zarathul. They were tall and graceful with crystal skin that glowed from within. Welcome to the Heart of Fire, Princess Zarathul said as they stepped out of the shuttle. This ship has been my home for 20 years. Here you will learn what it means to be Pirathi. She led them through corridors that were so hot Lisa was sure her suit was going to fail. But somehow it held together, keeping her alive in an environment that would have killed her in seconds without protection. Your first lesson, the princess said as they walked, is about truth. My people cannot lie to each other. When we speak, our inner fire changes color. Lies make the fire turn dark and ugly. Truth makes it burn bright and clean. She stopped and turned to face Lisa. Ambassador, your people use many words but say nothing. We use few words but speak from the heart. Tell me now, with no diplomatic language, what do you really think of my people? Lisa thought carefully. She knew this was important, but she was scared to say the wrong thing. Finally, she decided to be completely honest. I think your people are the most powerful and frightening beings I have ever met, she said. But I also think you are beautiful and amazing. I don't understand you, and that makes me nervous. I want to understand you, but I'm afraid I'm too different. Princess Zarathul's inner fire flared brightly, and for the first time she looked pleased. Good. You speak truth. Your fear is honest, and honesty is the beginning of respect. They entered a large room that the princess called the Hall of Flames. The ceiling was high and fires burned in patterns along the walls. In the center of the room, several Pirathi were moving in what looked like a dance, but their movements were accompanied by flames that flowed from their hands and bodies. This is the flame dance, Princess Zarathul explained. It is how we show our deepest feelings, watch and learn. The dancers moved with incredible grace, and the flames followed their every movement. The fire seemed to be alive, responding to their emotions. When they felt joy, the flames danced upward like celebration. When they felt sadness, the fire flowed downward like tears. Each movement has meaning, the princess said. Each flame tells a story. This is how we communicate when words are not enough. Lieutenant Amy Brooks, who had been quiet during most of the visit, suddenly stepped forward. Princess, may I try? Everyone looked at her in surprise. Amy was the youngest member of their team, and she had always been shy around alien species. You wish to attempt the flame dance? The princess asked. It is very dangerous for your kind. The fire could burn through your suit. I want to try, Amy said firmly. I think I'm starting to understand. The princess studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded and handed Amy a device that looked like a metal glove. This will let you Control small flames, but be very careful. Move slowly and think about what you are feeling. Amy put on the glove and closed her eyes. When she opened them again, she began to move. At first, nothing happened. Then, small flames appeared around her fingers. They were weak and flickering, but they were there. As Amy moved, the flames began to respond to her movements. She thought about her home on Earth, and the flames turned a warm golden color. She thought about her fear of being so far from home, and the flames turned blue and cold. The Parathi in the room stopped their own dancing and watched Amy with amazement. Princess Zarathul's eyes grew wide. "Impossible," she whispered. "No cold blood has ever been able to control flame on their first attempt." Amy continued to dance and the flames grew stronger. She thought about her friends, her family, her dreams of exploring the stars. With each emotion, the flames changed color and shape. When she finally stopped, the room was completely silent. Princess Zarathul walked over to her and removed the flame glove from her hand. "Lieutenant Brooks," the princess said, and her voice was filled with something that might have been respect. "You have natural fire inside you. It burns differently than ours, but it burns true." Amy looked embarrassed but proud. "I just tried to feel what you were feeling. When I watched the other dancers, I could see the emotions in the flames. I wanted to try to speak that language." "You did more than try," the princess said. "You succeeded. Perhaps your species is not as cold as I thought." Dr. Walsh stepped forward. "Princess, could you teach us more about your culture? We want to understand better." The princess nodded slowly. "There is much to learn. We value strength, but not just physical strength. We value the strength to show your true self, even when it is difficult. We value passion, but not wild emotion. We value controlled fire, not destructive rage." She led them to another room where Parathi children were learning to control their flames. The young ones could only make small sparks, but they practiced with intense concentration. "From birth we learn to express ourselves through fire," the princess explained. "It teaches us honesty because flames cannot lie. It teaches us control because wildfire destroys everything. It teaches us beauty because controlled flame is the most beautiful thing in the universe." Jake watched the children practice and began to understand. "So when you saw us being polite and careful, you thought we were hiding our true selves." "Exactly," the princess said. "In my culture, hiding your feelings is the same as lying. We thought you were all liars and cowards. But we were just trying to be respectful," Lisa said. "And now I begin to see that," the princess replied. "Your way of showing respect is different from ours, but Lieutenant Brooks has shown me that humans can learn our ways. The question is, are you willing to try?" Lisa looked at her team. Amy was still glowing with pride from her success with the flame dance. Kevin was taking notes and asking questions about Parathi technology. Jake was watching everything with the careful eyes of a protector. "Yes," Lisa said. "We are willing to learn, but you must also be willing to teach us and to be patient while we make mistakes." Princess Zarathul smiled, and this time it was a real smile, warm and bright. "Then your real education begins now, Ambassador Grant, but I warn you, learning to please the Parathi is not easy. It requires you to find the fire that burns inside your own heart." Ambassador Lisa Grant felt the sweat running down her back as she looked at Princess Zarathul. The heat in the room was almost too much to handle, but she had to stay focused. This was the most important meeting of her life. "Your Highness," Lisa said, using her most polite diplomatic voice, "humanity comes in peace. We seek friendship and cooperation with all intelligent species. We believe that working together makes everyone stronger." Princess Zarathul's eyes flared brighter, and the temperature in the room seemed to rise even more. Jake could see that she was not happy with Lisa's answer. "Friendship?" the princess said, and her voice sounded angry. "You speak words as cold as the space between stars. Where is your passion? Where is your fire? How can you claim to want friendship when you show no emotion at all?" Lisa looked confused. She had used the same words that had worked with dozens of other alien species. She tried again, speaking even more carefully. We understand that our species are very different, Lisa said. But differences can be a source of strength. We hope to learn from each other and build a relationship based on mutual respect. The princess stood up suddenly, and flames actually appeared around her hands. Jake's hand moved toward his weapon, but Dr. Walsh grabbed his arm and shook his head. Mutual respect? Princess Zarathul said, and now she sounded really angry. You insult me with your frozen words. In my culture, respect is earned through passion, through showing your true self. You hide behind empty phrases like a coward hiding behind a wall. Jake stepped forward. He could see that things were going badly, and he wanted to help Lisa. Princess, maybe we can start over. We're still learning about your culture. The princess turned her burning eyes toward him. You speak of learning, Captain Morrison, but you learn nothing. Watch. She raised her hand, and the flames around her fingers grew brighter. Then she made a complex pattern in the air with the fire. The flames danced and swirled, creating shapes that seemed to tell a story. This is how my people speak when words are not enough, she said. The fire shows our true feelings. But you humans, you are like ice. You feel nothing, show nothing, are nothing. Dr. Walsh stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. Princess, that was beautiful. Could you teach us what those flame patterns meant? For a moment, the princess looked surprised. Then her expression became even more angry. You want to learn our sacred language like it is some simple trick? You think you can study us like insects under glass? No, that's not what I meant, Kevin said quickly, but the damage was done. The princess walked around the table until she was standing very close to Lisa. The heat was so intense that Lisa had to take a step back. Ambassador Grant, the princess said, I have met with leaders from 47 different worlds. Some were warriors who challenged me to combat. Some were merchants who offered great treasures. Some were priests who shared their deepest beliefs. But never have I met anyone as cold and lifeless as you. Lisa felt hurt and frustrated. She had spent years learning how to talk to alien species, but nothing she had learned seemed to work with the Parathi. Your Highness, I'm trying to be respectful. In human culture, we show respect by being polite and careful with our words. Polite, the princess repeated, and she made the word sound like an insult. You show me politeness when I offer you the chance for alliance. You give me careful words when I could give your species the power to rule the stars. She walked back to her side of the table. Captain Morrison, bring me something from your ship, something that represents your species. Show me that humans are more than just cold, empty words. Jake looked at Lisa, who nodded. He left the room and returned a few minutes later with a small bundle. Inside were some flowers from Earth's botanical gardens, preserved in a special container. These are roses from Earth, Jake said. They represent beauty and love in our culture. We thought you might like them. He placed the container on the table and opened it. The roses were perfect, red and beautiful, but they had no scent and no life. They were just preserved specimens. Princess Zarathul looked at the flowers for a long moment. Then she reached out with one flaming finger and touched them. The roses burst into fire and turned to ash in seconds. Cold, lifeless things that mock true beauty, she said. Just like your words, Captain Morrison. Pretty to look at, but with no fire inside. Lisa felt desperate. Everything they tried seemed to make the princess more angry. What do you want from us? She asked. The princess sat down again, and her flames died down a little. I want to see who you really are. I want to know if there is any fire inside your frozen hearts. My people have conquered 30 worlds, Ambassador Grant. We could conquer yours too if we wanted. But you don't want to, Dr. Walsh said. It wasn't a question. No, the princess admitted. Conquest is easy. Alliance is difficult. My father, the Emperor, believes that your species might be worth knowing, but I see only ice where there should be fire. She leaned forward and her eyes burned brighter. I will give you one chance, Ambassador Grant. Come to my ship. Let me show you what it means to be Parathi. Learn what pleases my people, what makes us respect others. Only then can there be any hope for peace between our species. Lisa looked at Jake and Kevin. She could see the worry in their eyes, but she also saw something else. They were willing to follow her into danger if that's what it took. "If I come to your ship," Lisa said, "will you promise to let my people return safely to their vessel if something goes wrong?" The princess smiled for the first time since they had met. It was not a friendly smile. "Ambassador Grant, if you cannot learn to please my people, then going back to your ship will be the least of your worries, but yes, I give you my word. Your friends will be safe." Lisa took a deep breath. "Then I accept your invitation." Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Stellar Wind, staring at the strange message on his screen. He had been exploring space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this before. The message was written in perfect English, but it came from somewhere far beyond human space. "Captain, you need to see this," said Lieutenant Amy Brooks from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, and her voice sounded worried. "This message just appeared on all our systems at the same time. Someone bypassed our security like it was nothing." Jake walked over to her station and read the message. Again. It was short but very clear. "Greetings to the human vessel. I am Princess Zarathul of the Pirathi Empire. I wish to meet with your leaders to discuss matters of great importance. Come to the neutral station at coordinates 847.392.156. Come alone, but bring your best diplomat. The future of both our species may depend on this meeting." "Sir, I've never heard of the Pirathi Empire," said Dr. Kevin Walsh, the ship's science officer. He was a thin man with thick glasses who knew more about alien species than anyone else in the fleet. "They're not in any of our databases, but look at this scan data." Kevin put the sensor readings on the main screen. Jake felt his mouth drop open. The readings showed a massive fleet of ships, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ships were giving off incredible amounts of heat, like they were powered by small suns. "How many ships are there?" Jake asked. "At least 50. That we can detect," Kevin replied. "And Captain, they're all heading toward that neutral station. If this is some kind of trap, we're walking right into it." Jake thought for a moment. The neutral station was in a part of space that belonged to nobody. It was used for meetings between different alien species when they didn't trust each other enough to meet on home ground. But Jake had never heard of anyone using it for first contact with a completely unknown species. "Get me Admiral Chen on the long-range communicator," Jake ordered. "This is too big for us to handle alone." 20 minutes later, Jake was talking to Admiral Patricia Chen, the head of Earth's exploration fleet. Her face appeared on the screen and she looked tired. Jake quickly explained about the message and the sensor readings. "Captain Morrison, this could be the most important first contact in human history," the Admiral said. "I'm sending Ambassador Lisa Grant to your ship immediately. She's our best diplomat and she has more experience with alien cultures than anyone else." "What if it's a trap, Admiral?" Jake asked. Admiral Chen was quiet for a moment. "Then we need to know about it before they come looking for Earth. Captain, I want you to go to that meeting, but be ready for anything. And Morrison, if things go bad, your job is to get Ambassador Grant out of there alive." 2 days later, Ambassador Lisa Grant arrived on the Stellar Wind. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. Jake had worked with her once before, and he knew she was tougher than she looked. "Captain Morrison, what do we know about these Pirathi?" she asked as soon as she came aboard. "Not much," Jake admitted. "Dr. Walsh has been studying the sensor data, but all we know for sure is that they're powerful, and they generate a lot of heat." Dr. Walsh joined them in the meeting room. "Ambassador, I think they might be what we call a thermal species. Their ships are running at temperatures that would kill most life forms we know about. They might actually need that heat to survive." "Interesting," Lisa said. "That could explain why they want to meet at a neutral station instead of inviting us to their ships." The journey to the neutral station took 3 days. As they got closer, Jake could see the Pirathi ships on the long-range sensors. They were beautiful in a deadly way. with smooth curves and what looked like fire flowing along their hulls. "Captain, we're getting another message," Amy announced. The message was shorter this time. "Human vessel, you will dock at Base 7. Princess Zarathul will meet you in Conference Room 12. Bring only 3 people. Any more will be seen as a threat." Jake felt nervous as he prepared to dock. He would go with Ambassador Grant and Dr. Walsh, leaving Amy in charge of the ship. He made sure they all wore their best uniforms and carried translation devices, even though the Parathi seemed to speak perfect English. The neutral station was huge, with docking bays for ships of all sizes. As they walked through the corridors, Jake noticed that their section of the station felt much warmer than usual. The walls were glowing with a soft red light that seemed to come from inside the metal itself. Conference Room 12 was at the end of a long hallway. Jake could feel the heat getting stronger with each step. When they reached the door, it opened automatically and a wave of hot air hit them like a wall. Inside the room, Princess Zarathul was waiting for them. Jake had seen many alien species in his years of exploration, but nothing had prepared him for this. The princess stood 7 feet tall, with skin that looked like it was made of crystal. Light moved under her skin like liquid fire, and her eyes glowed with an inner flame. The air around her shimmered with heat, and Jake could feel sweat starting to form on his forehead even though they were still near the door. "So," the princess said, and her voice sounded like music mixed with the crackling of a fire, "these are the humans who think they can explore the galaxy." She looked at each of them carefully, and Jake felt like she was seeing right through him. "Your species claims to seek peace," she continued, "yet you know nothing of what pleases those who burn with the fire of 1,000 suns. Tell me, Ambassador Grant, why should the Parathi Empire not simply take what we want from your worlds?